Hello and welcome to this week's video. So recently when I was at work, the new grad coordinator came by and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Zoe, I haven't seen you in a while. How does it feel to have graduated out of the new grad program?" And I hadn't realized that it had been formally 18 months since I started working at the hospital. So I have officially passed my 18-month mark of working as a bedside nurse, and I thought I would do a little reflection recap thingy just for myself, but also anyone else who might be in nursing school, might be a new grad themselves, might be thinking about going into nursing. These are just some of the things that I feel like have been really valuable learning experiences and stuff, and some of my personal tips and tricks that I've picked up in the last 18 months. Obviously, I have so much more to learn, and I am by no means an expert on the floor. I thought this would just be really fun for myself to kind of reflect on in terms of nursing, because I do have quite a few aspirations in what I want to do with my nursing career, and I think it would just be fun to document that growth. So that being said, let's get into it. This is my top 10 tips for nursing students and new grads. Number 1, don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong. When I was a nursing student and I was going through my preceptorship, I was so scared of disappointing my preceptor. I was so scared of admitting that I was wrong during clinical. The grading systems of school are so stringent in terms of you're either right or you're wrong. There are a lot of things that are objectively right and wrong, but there's also a lot of gray area. And the more you're able to admit that maybe you didn't make the best call, or maybe you didn't have the best judgment in that space, the easier it is to grow and to learn from your mistakes. It's really hard to reframe that when you are a student, just because you are in a learning environment, you're still in school, stuff like that. And it helps you learn more about that "it depends" language. You're a student, you ask these questions, and your teacher will almost always respond with "it depends, it's a case-by-case scenario." Once you're able to accept that there isn't always going to be one right answer or one wrong answer, then you can really start to grow and start to use a little bit more of your critical thinking skills, because there isn't always a perfect solution. And as long as you're able to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, then you can really start to back up your rationales, and when you're documenting, feel really confident in the care that you provided. And if you are wrong, then you're able to admit that and learn from it and grow. Number 2, ask for help. I think that this is also something that can be really difficult moving and transitioning from school to work, because I think in school, a lot of the time you're expected to be very autonomous and very independent, but in nursing, it's so important to lean on your coworkers when it comes to new skills you're not that experienced with, or if you want a second opinion. You have so many amazing resources on your floor. Being able to get differing opinions and the perspectives of multiple other people will also help you consolidate your knowledge, think more critically, because you're getting all these different perspectives and they're all going to make sense, right? So you take a little bit of knowledge from this person, you take a little knowledge from that person. It really helps you to start curating your own personal air and your prioritizations. And I know it can be really scary because sometimes staff are really intimidating. Other people aren't willing to cooperate or be a part of that teamwork, then it's totally on them, and that's a problem, but not your problem. All right, number 3, make sure to look things up and do your research. It is always better to be safe than sorry, especially in nursing. Impacts can be really severe if you're not doing your due diligence on the research and the care that you're providing. sometimes you might feel like you don't have enough time to be doing the research that you want to be doing, but it's always going to be easier and more time efficient to go ahead, do the research that you need to do, and then do whatever skill or administer whatever medication you have to, than it would be to just wing it, mess it up, and then do all the paperwork that you would have to do to report an incident or have to explain what happened to the doctor and then deal with all of the ramifications and subsequent orders that would come with that mistake. Number 4, take your time on new skills and new everything. This is kind of similar to number 3 in terms of it's better to be safe than sorry, but something that is really difficult as a new grad is time management, especially for bedside nursing, and especially right now when there's such a short staff crisis going on in nursing. A lot of the times when you're supposed to only have 4 patients, you end up having 6 or 7 or 8, and that can be really overwhelming, and it can feel very unsafe. It is very unsafe, but unfortunately, that's just the state of nursing right now. And obviously, we shouldn't have to be working in these conditions, but because we are, it's always important to be prioritizing the safety of yourself and the safety of your patients. It's always best to take your time and be thorough. And if that means you go a little bit late for lunch, that means you go a little bit late. And you can always go ahead and record the extra hours that you put into the day, accrue your overtime. It's never good to be taking shortcuts if it means that you're compromising the safety of the patient. Also, if you take your time, then that means that you're really understanding and learning why you're doing what you're doing, and you're learning how to do it properly. And the more you do it, the more efficient you're going to be, and you're going to be doing it correctly. Doing bad practices, it's really hard to stay consistent and do it properly, and you're never really going to learn how to do it properly unless you take that time at the beginning to get confident in doing it the right way, and then you can kind of become a little bit more efficient as time goes on. Number 5, speak up if you're feeling overwhelmed. This one was the one that I absolutely had the most difficulty with. When I was first hired as a new grad, I had already been preceptoring on the same floor that I was hired on. So I think like 1 or 2 months in as a new grad, I was being asked to be in charge. Those are just things I was not comfortable with as someone who had had just passed their NCLEX and had just gotten their license. And those are boundaries that management is going to push, and unless you advocate for yourself, then they're going to take advantage of that. Their priority is not your well-being. Their priority is to make the hospital run as smoothly and as efficiently and as low cost as possible. What they want may not necessarily be the most beneficial to you and your mental health. So whatever you are comfortable with, you should be setting hard boundaries, but there's no way they will never know how you're feeling about the situation if you don't voice it. I think as students and as new hires, we're always wanting to people please, but at the end of the day, all that's going to do is leave you burnt out and leaving you feel stressed and resentful for doing more than really what you're supposed to be doing as a new grad. Number 6, find a healthy way to release your anger and stress. This one is so important. Nursing is hard. There's no other way. There's no other way to cut that cookie. Like, nursing is hard, and it would be a lie to say that some shifts don't suck. Sometimes patients will just be really mean, or sometimes doctors will just be extra rude. Like, the people you're working with, the patients and the patients' family members, both of them are probably going through some of the most traumatic times in their entire life. People's emotions are already so elevated when they're coming into the hospital, and tensions are already running really high for some of these family members and some of these patients. Not necessarily your fault, but it is your responsibility to healthily cope with that. And unfortunately, it is just part of the job to kind of be like beaten up, and you just kind of have to take it. It's really important to find something that you consider to be therapeutic and to just guiltlessly enjoy it. Otherwise, the stress of the job is actually just gonna eat you alive. Number 7, lean on your fellow nurses. This isn't to say that like nurses are special or like, ooh, we're different, yada yada. Like, every single job comes with its own issues and comes with its own challenges. But when it comes to nursing specifically, it can be kind of hard to complain about the job and have other people truly get it. And you can really say that about any profession, but for nursing in particular, trying to get other people to understand it can be more exhausting than just finding other nurses who already get it. For example, I had a patient who passed away, and the first time I had to bag a body was extremely traumatic. And that feeling isn't something you can really explain to other people. And it's honestly something that other people don't really want to hear about, right? Make sure to curate those connections and stay connected to the people you went to school with, and lean on your coworkers so that you have a solid support system that truly understands how you're feeling and understands the experiences that you're going through. Number 8, it is okay to feel overwhelmed. I think a lot of the time you see veteran nurses who are just going about their day like it's no one's business, and you're barely staying afloat. You pretending like you're okay and you're not overwhelmed when you are will almost always end up with you crying in the bathroom. It's okay to admit that you're overwhelmed. It's important to ask your coworkers for help if you need it. It's so important to acknowledge when you've reached your capacity. Otherwise, no one's going to help you if you don't ask for it. And then you're gonna just constantly feel like you're drowning. And that is also going to lead to burnout, going to lead to stress, going to make you want to leave bedside nursing early. Number 9, use your new grad years as an opportunity to learn more. And that sounds a bit obvious in terms of like, oh, advocate for learning new skills. But it's not just about the skills and the medication. It's also about learning about different disciplines in nursing. Because it's so overwhelming as a new grad, like to like be dealing with prioritization and time management, it's really hard to not get tunnel vision. And I totally had that. When you get stuck on one unit, you start losing the grasp on like what is happening on other floors, what other floors are dealing with, what other diagnoses are out there, and like what other cultures there are on different floors as well. You never know what's out there, and as a new grad, no one really expects you to know anything. So it's a great time to just like put yourself out there and just try to like learn as much as you can. It can be really fun to just constantly be learning new things. So yeah, number 10 is to try to find the fun in every shift. The job is difficult because sometimes you have coworkers that aren't cooperative, sometimes you have patients that aren't cooperative, sometimes you have management that's not cooperative. And when all 3 of those are working against you in one shift, it can be really, really difficult. And I always try to do is find one good thing that happened each shift. And even if that means there were like 20 things that went wrong, you can always cling to that one thing to be like, you know what? At least that one thing happened, and I can go home knowing that I did at least one thing for the good today. Having one thing is really important because like otherwise you just like cling to those 20 things that made you angry, and then you just become like an angry, bitter person. You just become more and more dissatisfied with your job and your life. So I definitely recommend trying to find at least one good thing about every single shift, and then at least you can go home, forget about it, and enjoy the rest of your life. So yeah, those are my tips. This video is pretty long, but my job is something that I'm very, very passionate about. So if anyone had any questions about nursing, which no one will, but if anyone did have any questions, let me know. So yeah, that is it for this video, and I shall see you guys in the next one.